Before we dive into today's episode, I want to tell you about a free 3-act worksheet to help you structure your story. Whether you're a plotter or a pantser, a novelist, or short fiction writer, this 3-act worksheet will help you navigate your material and even begin each new story with a better plan. Download yours at nancypanuccio.com/act. Stop getting stuck in the middle of your draft. Go grab this free worksheet, nancypanuccio.com/act. Readers don't need everything explained. They just need enough friction to propel them forward. So try this. Ask, what's the core tension or contradiction in your story? How can your first line hint at it without resolving it? Writer Unleashed is for you, a writer who has a story you want to bring onto the page and into the hearts and minds of readers. I'm Nancy Panuccio, writer, editor, and book coach. Each week, we'll explore techniques, mindsets, and inspiration for writing stories readers can't put down. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now, let's begin. Well, hey there. Welcome back to another episode of Writer Unleashed. Today, we're talking about one of the most intimidating and important lines you'll ever write, your first one. Whether you're writing fiction or memoir, that opening line is a doorway. It's a signal flare, a kind of unspoken promise to the reader about what's to come. And yet a lot of writers get stuck here. And that's perfectly normal. We tweak, we rewrite, we second guess, and then we still wonder, is this good enough? Is it interesting? Will it hook the reader? Today, I'm going to show you 3 powerful ways to hook your reader right from the very first line. These aren't formulas, they're strategies that you can adapt to your voice, your genre, your story. So let's get right to it. Strategy number 1, surprise us with an unexpected truth. Sometimes the most gripping first lines startle us with something raw, true, or oddly specific. You want to think of it as pulling back the curtain, showing us something we don't expect, but that immediately feels compelling and human. These lines land like a quiet gut punch. They catch the reader off guard with emotional honesty, contradiction, or stark revelation. For example, here's the opening line of Annie Ernaux's memoir, Shame. My father tried to kill my mother one Sunday in June in the early afternoon. Okay, so this line leads with that traumatic event, and the memoir then explores the lingering effect it had on her, the strong presence it maintained despite the fact that no one ever talked to her about it, including her parents. So there's nothing flowery here. There's no metaphor, no buildup. It's delivered plainly with no emotion, and that's what makes it so gutting. The language is simple, but the emotional truth is massive. One sentence, 12 words, and we already understand that this moment shaped the narrator's entire life. What makes the line even more haunting and compelling is the contrast. One Sunday in June in the early afternoon. That detail could describe a picnic or a lazy summer nap, but instead, it's the backdrop to a domestic rupture. And that tension between the ordinary and the horrific pulls us in even tighter. This isn't a line written to be clever. It's written to be honest, unapologetically honest. And when you lead with that kind of truth, the reader leans forward. They have to know what happened next, or in this case, what happened before. Here's another example from Celeste Nig's novel, Everything I Never Told You. Lydia is dead, but they don't know this yet. 1977, May 3, 6:30 in the morning, no one knows anything but this innocuous fact. Lydia is late for breakfast. Okay, so that bald statement, Lydia is dead, is a massive emotional truth. But the twist is in the second sentence, but they don't know this yet. So we know something the characters don't. We want to watch what happens when they find out. Here's another example from The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. It was a queer, sultry summer, the summer they electrocuted the Rosenbergs, and I didn't know what I was doing in New York. Okay, this is a great first line because first, the Rosenbergs' execution is a jarring reference. It's political, it's loaded, and it's tragic. And it's juxtaposed with a personal sense of dislocation. So again, there's that contrast. It sets the tone for a story about mental illness and alienation, and that blunt admission, I didn't know what I was doing, is deeply vulnerable. Sometimes the most powerful opening lines don't dazzle us with style or mystery. They just say the quiet part out loud. They name something raw, something unsettling, something emotionally charged that most people would bury 10 pages in or never say at all. And that's exactly why they pull us in. So ask yourself, what is one emotional truth your character or you knows but doesn't want to admit? What would happen if you opened your story by saying it anyway? Not explaining it, not softening it, just naming it. Surprising your reader with the emotional center of your story right from the start is one of the most compelling ways to hook them. So ask yourself, what is the uncomfortable truth your character carries? Or what's the emotional undercurrent of their story that you're most afraid to say out loud? Lead with that. Okay, on to strategy number 2. Ground us in a tense, specific moment. Your story doesn't need to open with high drama, but it should place us inside a moment that matters. We're not hovering outside the scene. We're already inside it, feeling the current pull beneath the surface. So it doesn't need to be anything high action. It just needs to begin with gravity. So drop us into a moment where something's stirring, where something's shifting. We don't want to be floating above the story. We want to feel like we've just stepped into the room with the characters. Readers want to be somewhere. You can drop us into a moment of tension or movement. So we're not floating, we're there in it. Here's an example from George Orwell's novel, 1984. It was a bright, cool day in April, and the clocks were striking 13. Okay, why does this work? Well, this type of opening roots us in time and place and leaves a thread of dissonance. Clocks striking 13, we sense that something's off, and that keeps us reading. Okay, here's another example from The Crow Road by Ian Banks. It was the day my grandmother exploded. How's that for a first sentence? It was the day my grandmother exploded. I sat in the crematorium, listening to my Uncle Hamish quietly snoring in harmony to Bach's Mass in B minor, and I reflected that it always seemed to be death that drew me back to Galinock. So we're in the crematorium, grappling with shock and dark humor. The moment feels visceral and strange. It feels confessional, almost grotesque. It drops us into a moment already in motion. We're in a crematorium, sensing something shocking just happened. It blends the jarring, a grandma exploding, with the mundane, a funeral service. And that creates instant tension. It doesn't prep or explain. It's immediate and visceral. It's a masterclass in opening with action. No drifting, no floating, just the scene in full force. So try this. Think about the exact moment your character's life begins to shift. Can you open in motion with sensory details and an emotional undercurrent? Okay, on to strategy number 3. Plant a story question. Great opening lines raise a question, sometimes literally, sometimes through contradiction or curiosity. These aren't rhetorical, they beg to be answered. And the only way to get that answer is to keep reading. Here's the prologue from The Secret History by Donna Tartt. The snow in the mountains was melting, and Bunny had been dead for several weeks before we came to understand the gravity of our situation. Okay, so who is Bunny? How did Bunny die? And what situation? This line throws us into a story that already knows its ending. And it works because we need to understand how they got there. It flips the murder mystery on its head by starting with the death. Okay, here's another example from Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. When people ask me what I do, taxi drivers, hairdressers, I tell them I work in an office. Okay, why does this work? Well, the tone is slightly defensive, slightly detached. But why does she answer like that? I suspect that she doesn't really work in an office. I feel like she's hiding something. So why does she feel the need to say so little? We sense immediately that she's hiding something, or that something deeper lies beneath her everyday routine. It's very effective. So these openings drop a hint of conflict, contradiction, or intrigue. Readers don't need everything explained. They just need enough friction to propel them forward. So try this. Ask, what's the core tension or contradiction in your story? How can your first line hint at it without resolving it? Now, your opening line does not have to be perfect, and you don't have to know it on day 1 of drafting. But once you have a sense of your story, who it's really about, and what's really at stake, you can go back and make that first line sing. So number 1, surprise us with an unexpected truth. Number 2, ground us in a tense, specific moment. And number 3, plant a story question that begs to be answered. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be action-packed. You just need to say something only you could say, something that resonates emotionally, surprises us, and makes us lean in. So there you have it. Thanks for hanging out with me today. If you know any writers who need some support in their writing, please share this episode or the Writer Unleashed podcast in general. And if you love what you're listening to, subscribe on your favorite listening platform. And if you're listening on Apple, please leave me a review. Reading how this podcast impacts your writing truly lights me up and helps me create topics for the show. Till next time, keep writing, and I'll talk to you soon.